had a huge impact on the automation industry, and I benefited through my company, General Motors, who used that information and that association to further develop and advance robotics technology. A3 brought together all of the different supplier companies which could deliver the technology. The human capital of people that knew how they operated and could work with them, and it had a big positive impact on the success of General Motors, and clearly it had a big positive impact on many other companies and the industry as a whole. had a huge impact on the automation industry, and I benefited through my company, General Motors, who used that information, that association, to further develop and advance robotics technology. A3 brought together all of the different supplier companies which could deliver the technology, the human capital, the people that knew it and could work with them, and it had a big positive impact on the success of General Motors, and clearly it had a big positive impact on many other companies and the industry as a whole. has had a huge impact on the automation industry, and I benefited through my company, General Motors, who used that information and that association to further develop and advance robotics technology. A3 brought together all of the different supplier companies which could deliver the technology. The human capital, the people that knew how they operated and could work with them, and it had a big positive impact on the success of General Motors, and clearly it had a big positive impact on many other companies and the industry as a whole. had a huge impact on the automation industry, and I benefited through my company, General Motors, who used that information, that association, to further develop and advance robotics technology. A3 brought together all of the different supplier companies which could deliver the technology, the human capital of people that knew it and could work with them, and it had a big positive impact on the success of General Motors, and clearly it had a big positive on many other companies and the industry as a whole. has had a huge impact on the automation industry, and I benefited through my company, General Motors, who used that information, that association, to further develop and advance robotics technology. A3 brought together all of the different supplier companies which could deliver the technology. The human capital, the people that knew how they operated and could work with them, and it had a big positive impact on the success of General Motors, and clearly it had a big positive impact on many other companies and the industry as a whole. A3 has had a huge impact on the automation industry, and I benefited through my company, General Motors, who used that information and that association to further develop and advance robotics technology. A3 brought together all of the different supplier companies which could deliver the technology. The human capital, the people that knew how they operated and could work with them, and it had a big positive impact on the success of General Motors, and clearly it had a big positive impact on many other companies and the industry as a whole. had a huge impact on the automation industry, and I benefited through my company, General Motors, who used that information and that association to further develop and advance robotics technology. A3 brought together all of the different supplier companies which could deliver the technology. The human capital, the people that knew how they operated and could work with them, and it had a big positive impact on the success of General Motors, and clearly it had a big positive impact on many other companies and the industry as a whole. had a huge impact on the automation industry, and I benefited through my company, General Motors, who used that information and that association to further develop and advance robotics technology. A3 brought together all of the different supplier companies which could deliver the technology. The human capital, the people that knew how they operated and could work with them, and it had a big positive impact on the success of General Motors, and clearly it had a big positive impact on many other companies and the industry as a whole. A3 has had a huge impact on the automation industry, and I benefited through my company, General Motors, who used that information, that association, to further develop and advance robotics technology. A3 brought together the different supplier companies which could deliver the technology. The human capital of people that knew they operated and could work with them, and it had a big positive impact on the success of General Motors. Clearly, it had a big positive on many other companies and the industry as a whole. has had a huge impact on the automation industry, and I benefited through my company, General Motors, who used that information, that association, to further develop and advance robotics technology. A3 brought together all of the different supplier companies which could deliver the technology. The human capital, the people that knew they operated and could work with them, and it had a big positive impact on the success of General Motors. Clearly it had a big ease in the industry as a whole. A3 has had a huge impact on the automation industry, and I benefited through my company, General Motors, who used that information and that association to further develop and advance robotics technology. A3 brought together all of the different supplier companies which could deliver the technology. The human capital, the people that knew how they operated and could work with them, and it had a big positive impact on the success of General Motors, and clearly it had a big positive impact on many other companies and the industry as a whole. had a huge impact on the automation industry, and I benefited through my company, General Motors, who used that information, that association, to further develop and advance robotics technology. A3 brought together all of the different supplier companies which could deliver the technology. The human capital, the people that knew how they operated and could work with them, and it had a big positive on the success of General Motors, and clearly it had a big positive impact on many other companies and the industry as a whole.
Hello and welcome to Live. My name is Deb Kling. I'm the Vice President of Marketing here at A3, the Association for Advancing Automation. And we are here today with Brian Casey, President and CEO of ECM PCB Stator Tech, Brian has an engineering degree, but more importantly, he has over 30 years experience in both the energy and the technology industries. He has worked many startups, from startup to scaling up to growth phase to acquisition, and he's here representing his company today. Just a real quick intro on ECM. They're developing a new motor design and SaaS company. They pair advanced motor CAD with a patented PCB, printed circuit board technology, to create the next generation of electric motors. He's going to show us one too. It's printed, and this technology is really offering a replacement for your traditional motors. You have quieter, lighter, more energy, more space efficient across a broad range of industries, and we're here to hear all about that today. So welcome, Brian.
Thank you so much, Deb. And I was going to say, that's a wrap. You got everything.
That's a wrap.
You got it all.
Let's call it. I know, right?
Where do we sign on the dotted line?
We want to hear about it. I've been to his company in Boston. Amazing. The company, the people, the product especially. Tell us a little bit about it.
Oh, thank you so much. So really, it's very unique software, optimization software that's simulated annealing, and allows innovators, engineers who are, let's say they're using like a SolidWorks product. This is a CAD/CAM product for motor design, and it allows them to dial in exactly what they need for their application from a speed, torque, power standpoint. And then the other part that's really unique is it creates automatically a Gerber file that you can then take that to any printed circuit board house in the world and print your electric motor. So if you look at here on the screen, we have, this is a traditional stator, and I'll hold it up. You can see how much bigger it is. And then this is the one that's printed with our technology. So this is 10% of the weight, a fraction of the weight, a fraction of the size.
Unbelievable.
And you can print it in scales. You can print millions of these at any PCB house in the world. So it's really turning the motor world upside down a little bit.
Can they
Very
design
disruptive.
it themselves, or do they work with your company to do the actual design through the motor CAD?
Both. It depends on
Okay.
the sophistication of the user. We have some clients that are internalizing this, creating their own motor companies, or basically franchising the technology, and they have engineers that can do everything themselves. And then we have others that are like, hey, I only have a discrete application that I want to use your technology for, and we'll use our own in-house engineers to design it, build them a prototype, and then when they want to go to scale, we'll have them with one of our contract manufacturers.
Okay. I know that some of this is top secret, that you can't share all your customers and end users, but maybe some of the applications that you guys have been involved in.
So we're fortunate, knock on wood, and we're blessed to have some of the marquee industry leaders in HVAC, robotics, automation. We're doing everything from a very small, it's probably the size of a quarter, for haptics and feedback for a high-end simulation product, all the way up to a 20 horsepower pump. So it has appeal at a wide cross of market verticals. And our job, honestly, is to be disciplined to pick those clients that are going to help us commercialize and exploit the technology. And exploit's the right word.
We've used the term disruptive technology for this product. Can you say what's disruptive about it?
Yeah, I mean, in very simple terms, I think what's most disruptive, I mean, the software is key, and that's fantastic. But the fact that we're leveraging an existing manufacturing methodology that's been around for 40 years, right? So printed circuit boards, we see those green boards in the back of your computer, in the back of your cell phone, and all we're doing is, like, as far as the production floor goes, they're doing everything the same and normal. Right. We're just interrupting that binary file, that Gerber file, replacing it with what our software produces, and instead of putting transistors and all kinds of electronics on it, it's making these etchings in each of the layers of copper, and hence that's why you have this stator.
It seems like that would be a lot more sustainable and energy efficient just by looking at all the wires that are on one side versus the other side. Do you have percentages or any kind of quantitative numbers behind that?
Yeah, I mean, a fraction of the copper. This is, like I said, it's probably it's almost a direct correlation with the weight, but I would say this is probably 10 to 15% of the copper that's consumed here. And because it's encapsulated in FR4, it has a very good, what I would call, shelf life or optimization, so it can be reused. Like the bearings, the traditional parts of a motor, the bearings and the shafts will wear out before the stator will.
Absolutely.
So in theory, you could remove all your casings, pull this back, you don't even have to recycle it, just reuse it in another frameless or frame motor.
So one of the ways that some of the things we see now is somebody needs a motor, they just go online, they're like, I need this horsepower, I need it off the shelf, I want it tomorrow. There's the right customer for that.
Correct.
And then there's the right customer for your product. What's the right customer for your product?
It could be a customer that's used to buying motors that way, and is not quite a right fit. Like, what's great about walking the floor here with all these robotics companies, you'll see these beautiful, elegant machines, and they'll have a giant soup can as an elbow on a joint, right?
Right.
And they're kind of stuck with, like, they've been designing their application around a motor from a catalog. We flip that whole paradigm on its head, and we say, like, well, why would you do that? If you know what you want, design your motor around the application, and that's where we're a good fit.
That's a great.
We may not be the good fit, the same fit for everyone, or for some people it's almost too much open-ended choice or flexibility, and they're kind of like, it's overwhelming. So we try to help our clients condense that.
Tell us a little bit about ECM. Like, how big are you? Where are you at when you're in your production and all of that?
It's probably, I guess we can't really say startup now. Because
no, I don't. Yeah, a little further than that.
A little further than that.
Just a little, though.
But this is my fourth. I like to call it my fourth rodeo. So, and the team is just super, super talented. We have a little over 35 employees.
Oh, fantastic!
But we have a global reach. I mean, we're working with the who's who in Japan, Europe, here in the States, Canada, Asia.
Awesome.
really well-known marquee names, and everything from like robotics to kitchen appliances. I mean, we're working. Recently, we just got an overture for a traditional garbage disposal manufacturer.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and you would never think of that, but.
And you could see that, and I think like the restaurant industry is just moving from an automation perspective.
Correct.
I could see that being something that would be.
But we're going to give them increased clearance under the sink.
Yep.
And it's a fraction of the weight. So when we actually built the prototype for this client, my team, when they wanted to show it as installed within a commercial kitchen sink, and they said it was just because it was so light they could install it with one hand.
Oh my gosh.
So some of this stuff is going to percolate, and once it gets into the market, we'll start to be able to be more public with who our clients are.
Yeah, totally. So you're at the show. What's your booth number?
I'm so bad.
No, I haven't.
Tell me. Thank you. Is it a trick question?
It's 3476.
3476.
We're not ending the thing. I just want to make sure people know that they can go see your design. What else are you showing at your booth besides?
So we're showing some actual prototypes that we built.
Oh, cool.
We're showing some demonstration models. We have some actual, stators that we've developed for our clients, and then thankfully we have people more knowledgeable than me at the booth that can answer the questions.
You're pretty knowledgeable. Some of the other things we talked about was sustainability and regulation aspects.
Yeah.
Can you talk on that at
Yeah,
all?
yeah, absolutely. So that's a great question. Thank you. We had one client who's in the fan business, and let's just call it a bathroom fan.
Okay.
And they are Energy Star, kind of like darlings. They're very good at the Energy Star program.
Okay.
And they wanted something quieter, thinner. They came to us. We modeled it. We built them a prototype.
Oh, cool.
Gave it to them. They tested it, and they're like, very good. Too good. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you crushed the Energy Star rating. We want you to dial it back. We want to beat the Energy Star rating. We don't want to crush it.
Oh.
And the reason that's important is we were able to remodel it and show them that we could bring some cost out of it by just like hitting the efficiency. So let's say they wanted to be 90% efficient. We were at 91, 92. They're like, hey, bring it to 88. And then we're able to make even a more cost-effective design. So it's pretty cool.
And I imagine as you do quote your product, you have to look at the overall, like you said, the overall solution. It's not just motor to motor.
No.
You have to look at how much are you saving in the other areas.
How much you're saving in shipping, application synergies. One of the things that the typical market offers in a catalog scenario, the catalog is good for both OEMs and the users because they can pick like kind of a menu. But let's say you don't really want a 5 horsepower.
Okay.
You don't really want the next one down, which is 3 horsepower.
Yes.
You want a 4.2 horsepower. Well, ECM can do that for you.
Which is unique and cool at the
Unique
same
and
time.
cool. And from a sustainability standpoint, it's it's leapfrogs above just efficiency improvement. It's actually dialing in what you exactly need.
Exactly.
So
what
there's
you
no
need.
waste.
You're not oversizing,
Yeah.
and then oversizing more because of the offerings that are available to you. Totally get that. You've won some awards. I mean, first of all, you've won the
This
award
is the best.
here.
This is the best.
awarded, the A3 Innovation Awards, which is we just awarded yesterday. Amazing in our software category. ECM won that, and it just such an incredible technology that you've got here. Tell me more. I know I've talked to your partner in crime, Jake. There. What else have you guys been involved in?
I think really the technology is starting to become adopted and speak for itself.
Yeah.
And we've been very blessed, fortunate to have, like I said, a very talented team. And through Jake, we've won, I think we've had 14 awards this year alone.
Oh my gosh, 14.
Yeah, 14
Just
awards.
this year?
This year alone. So we're definitely
You're
raising.
setting the bar for next year pretty high.
Well, maybe there'll be better awards.
Yeah,
so.
and enhancements.
Enhancements. No, but I think it's reflective
Yeah.
of what's going on in the marketplace, the whole axial flux, really to bore the audience now, coreless or air core machines.
Yeah.
That is relatively a new motor topology, and our software and technology allows people to participate in that new space very efficiently. And I think that's why we're getting the recognition that we're getting.
Absolutely. And like I said, I've been there. It's amazing what I saw. And your team, top notch.
Thank you so much.
It's really
Kind of you,
cool.
thank you.
Is there anything you want the listeners to know that we haven't talked about?
Oh, we're here to take on any. We love challenges. If you have a challenge, it helps. What's great about the software is it improves on itself. It is a form of AI, so that every time we develop a product or an application for a client and we test it, we put that information and data back into the software. It makes it better. So
that's
we
cool.
like challenges. So please, challenge us, and if we can help you, we'll help you.
And if they can't get to your booth, which once again is 3476, they can
3476.
They can check you out online or give you a call. But that does conclude our interview today. It was
Awesome.
wonderful talking to
Thank you so much.
And thank you for joining us here at Automate Live.
Thank you, everyone.
has had a huge impact on the automation industry, and I benefited through my company, General Motors, who used that information, that association, to further develop and advance robotics technology. A3 brought together all of the different supplier companies which could deliver the technology. The human capital, the people that knew how they operated and could work with them, and it had a big positive impact on the success of General Motors, and clearly it had a big positive impact on many other companies and the industry as a whole. had a huge impact on the automation industry, and I benefited through my company, General Motors, who used that information, that association, to further develop and advance robotics technology. A3 brought together all of the different supplier companies which could deliver the technology. The human capital, the people that knew how they operated and could work with them, and it had a big positive impact on the success of General Motors, and clearly it had a big positive impact on many other companies and the industry as a whole.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Automate Live. I am your host, Ann Wyatt, for this session. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We're so excited to have Scott Silknitter from Abco Automation with us today. Scott, how are you?
Doing great. I appreciate your having me here.
Absolutely. I'm really excited for this conversation because you guys are innovating in so many awesome ways at Abco. And I cannot wait to kind of get into the depth of that conversation a little bit more with you. Yep. But why don't you, for everyone listening and watching, tuning in today, just do a brief introduction of yourself and maybe of Abco as well.
So I'm Scott Silknitter. I'm the Director of Development for Abco Automation. Abco's a almost 50-year-old automation company based in North Carolina. We are 100% employee owned, which is really a unique situation for us. As an ESOP, it's really a second retirement tool. So
right.
Most companies have 401ks. Not many companies have pensions anymore, but as an employee, it is a great retention tool to attract new people and keep them so they can build up part of their retirement nest egg. So
love that.
That's one super cool thing. And the other part with the ESOP is that we have flexibility. We don't have to meet quarterly numbers. We have a board, and we have to meet the board goals that are set out, but we have the ability to be patient. We can pick and choose projects that we know we're good at. We can pick and choose projects that we want to do, that we want to explore in our 4 target markets, and that really is a good thing for us, so we can become experts and really advisors to our customers.
Absolutely, I love that. I know that we have talked so much back and forth in the last few weeks about you all being an ESOP company. And as a recruiter, I love that because it is such an awesome recruiting tool. It's a great benefit to offer your employees. Yep. And you do see a longer retention. And I think that I'd love to hear that metric again that you gave me a few weeks ago. But your average tenure at Abco is...
With the engineers, it's about 19 years.
Nice.
So it's really, we're an entrepreneurial company with seasoned veterans that know what they're doing as we bring in new talent. So starting with Graham Ricks, who founded a company, the true entrepreneur, to our new mechanical engineering manager, Tyler McKinney.
I love him. I love Tyler.
To the guys on the shop floor who are looking at ways to improve how we build things. So it's a great tool, and everyone has a vested interest in doing the right thing.
Absolutely. And speaking of that aspect and perspective of Abco, if we get kind of more into Abco, the company, right? Research is a big part of recruiting, is what I do. Can you kind of tell us a little bit more about something about Abco that is maybe very unique? What is something uniquely Abco for everyone listening today? And most importantly, what are some of the most exciting things you all are up to right now?
So we are evolving with the industry. We are an automation company, almost 50 years old. We started traditional design build, and that is the heart of the company. The engineering team, what we do, our staff, that direction is the heart of the company. We have built on that. So went from design build to adding build to print. So if we designed a system, a solution for a single plant, a customer may want us to build it for 15 lines at other plants, we would do that. That led to contract manufacturing. So we are truly a contract manufacturer, we have two groups, contract manufacturing and design build engineering. A lot of our vendor partners have gotten to learn that about us because we deal in high volume contract manufacturing customers, a lot of onshoring from Europe, but we're still with both groups attacking the same markets, whether it's food and beverage, life science, logistics, agriculture. We are moving the same direction from two different angles. And that gives us a lot of flexibility to do a lot of things, but one way or the other, we are in those markets with our chosen customers. So that's where we were. What's happening today is we are launching what we call our MPS family of products. So MPS is Modular Product Series. The first one, there's 6 coming over the next few years. The first one is our palletizer. So we designed a modular palletizer, a base unit that we've taken the advancements that were paid for by some of the largest companies in the world that we know, that we're trying to improve their efficiency. Not every small and mid-sized business has the resources to do what a BMW can do or a UPS can do to build their company. So what we did was take existing palletizing technology, some of the cutting edge technology that has been developed, and we've incorporated into our design for an affordable palletizing system that meets the needs of the small to medium-sized business as well as large, because the small guys, mid-sized guys have the same concerns about labor, about getting product out the door that the big guys do too. We're just here to help them get there.
That's excellent. I love that. Automation for all.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Right?
So if you think about it, we talked about this the other day. 1908 at the Model T was the attempt, was the first effort by Ford Motor Company to make cars available to everyone. What we've done with the MPS family is taken really next level technology on monitoring systems and cameras, mixed it with our manufacturing know-how and standard robot palletizing to do the same thing at an economical price so folks can afford to do what they need to do to run their businesses. We want to help our customers grow.
So technology, from my perspective, kind of looking out in, right? There's always that fear that technology, it won't age well, right? I mean, we're always looking for the next latest and greatest thing. And I know that we've talked a lot about the palletizer and how it works, and I've got to just throw this ad hoc question in for you. I want to know if you can kind of explain a little bit more about the palletizer system and how it evolves throughout your company's growth and demand and meets their needs as time goes on.
So as we started this, it's been discussed at ABCO for years, and then a couple of years it turned into an idea we should move this way. And then in the last 8 months, it really gained steam moving forward. And we took the best of our engineered solutions and we took it down to a compact, small footprint palletizer. It can ship on a truck. So you can take a forklift and drop it in place. In fact, I was talking to a customer today who said, I love it, but it'll take forever if we have to move something out. And no, it won't. You could take a forklift and move it and drop it in place. So you have that system, and then the controls, a standard palletizer, moving a box from a conveyor onto a pallet. You have the layers that are built in what you want the pallet to look like, up to 72 inches. The next level portion of it is where we're really able to help our customers. If there's internet access available, we can do remote monitoring. We have cameras set up that will, if there's an event that someone gets a warning, I get warnings on my iPad. Any customer, any small business owner, any mid-sized operations manager can set it up on their phone. They get a warning. They can log into an app that they'll receive, that they can see what happened. The cameras will record what happened 30 seconds before and 30 seconds after. So diagnostics are a snap. You know exactly what happened and how to fix it so you can get back up and running almost immediately. It's really super cool stuff.
That's amazing. I think that's such an important factor when you're looking at automation because, when I'm talking to CEOs and other presidents and things, that's one of the biggest pain points that they have is like integration, right? And how it's going to fit into the existing equipment, or is it going to be something that, is not going to be super flexible, 5-10 years down the road?
Absolutely. Well, one of the other cool things about this is the speed at which we can bring it to a customer. So August 1st is the official launch that we will be able to deliver product in 6 to 8 weeks. Most palletizer companies are 18, 20, 24, 36 weeks, depending on where they're going. We'll be able to do in 6 to 8. So if things fall between the cracks and somebody forgets to really look into that, we can get the product to them on time. Right now, we're taking orders during the soft launch, and it's 13 to 15 weeks. So from the beginning, we're differentiating to make it easier on companies and customers to work with us and use our product.
That's awesome. I love that. And, now that we've kind of learned a little bit more about ABCO, I'd like to know a little bit more about Scott, the leader and the person, because as you all know, that's very much who and why it is. So you got to tell me, a strong company like ABCO, that depends on strong leadership. Can you just tell us a little bit about your own journey in the automation career?
So, and I'm one piece of a leadership team and one voice that comes in where we all have different backgrounds, and those backgrounds come together and mold into the direction we're going. So over the last 30 years, I grew up in corporate America working with some very large multinationals, and then had started my own in the basement. My kids were my shipping department for what I was doing, and we moved through that and then moved on to sold off, licensed out portions of that. We had a family health crisis, so we had to address that. And then after that we went through that, got into consulting with small businesses, turnarounds, 20, 30 million companies and under, which was incredibly rewarding to be able to save jobs and save homes and save kids' college educations. That changed who I was and how I approached a lot of things in life, and that and the illness within my family. So from there, I went to nonprofit work, raising about 100,000 pounds worth of essential supplies for Ukrainian refugees. Working with groups to get land and building donations for mental health groups that did free nonprofit work. So all of those things came together, and then I've known the founder of ABCO for a long time, and to see where they were going, to see the assets they had in place and their ability to help people, and they had the same mindset that I had, to do a good job, to help people grow, to grow with them and truly be partners, trusted advisors. That's where I wanted to go, and that's what is driving us. And no matter what you face in a leadership role, you're always going to have adversity. You can either let it define you and shrink away, or you can learn from it and grow from it. And the leadership team at ABCO, what I've seen, and the staff, they grow through adversity, which is super cool. So it's planning, communication, all of those things add in, and it is a team effort.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Absolutely right. No one likes kingdoms. No one wants to work for kingdoms, and no one wants to work for micromanagers, right? We've all seen that throughout our careers. This is a team effort that is moving forward together.
I had to golf clap to that.
No problem.
Love that so much. Well, I've got one final question for you here today as we wrap up our conversation. But maybe for those listening out in the audience tuning in today, what is one easy takeaway piece of advice that you would give companies that are interested in automation, maybe they haven't gotten started yet, that they could go out and implement easily on their own?
So 2 parts, open mind and communication. You have to go into it with an open mind. Don't think you know everything, and don't think because one person said something and take it as gospel. There's a lot of ways to look at automation projects, a lot of concepts to accomplish the same goal. listen and soak up everything you can from your vendors. If you're looking to automate your facility, soak up everything you can, and then communicate what you want to accomplish. Make sure your vendor partners communicate with you with what they're going to provide. Leave no gray areas.
I love that.
And you'll move along just fine.
I love that. That's got to be one of the best quotes. Leave no gray areas.
Yep, absolutely.
Excellent. All right. Well, Scott, if anyone is interested in getting in touch with you, can you let us know what's a good way to reach out?
So my email, scotts at goabco.com. Our website, www.goabco.com. And we'll be happy to help in any way that we can.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Scott. I really appreciate the conversation today. This was awesome. Thank you to everybody tuning in, and thanks to A3. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
A3 has had a huge impact on the automation industry, and I benefited through my company, General Motors, who used that information, that association, to further develop and advance robotics technology. A3 brought together all of the different supplier companies which could deliver the technology. The human capital of people that knew how they operated and could work with them, and it had a big positive impact on the success of General Motors, and clearly it had a big positive impact on many other companies and the industry as a whole.
everyone, and welcome back to Automate Live this afternoon on Tuesday, second day of Automate here in Chicago. I am joined, first of all, I am Jana Martin. I am the Media Production Manager here at A3, the Association for Advancing Automation. Right here next to me, I've got Chris Lukey. He is the host of the Manufacturing Happy Hour. Chris, glad you could be here again on the desk today. Max Falcone, he is the Director of Sales Engineering from Push Corp. Max, glad to have you on the desk again.
Thank you.
You've been here before. And then, of course, we have Ryan Boyd. He is the Director of Sales Engineering at Walter Surface Technologies. Super excited to dive in today. Let's start actually with Ryan down at the end. Can you tell us just a little bit about Walter? What do you guys do? Why are you here?
Yep, absolutely. So Walter's been around for almost 75 years now, really focused on bringing high productivity and high performance solutions to primarily metalworking industry. About 60 years ago, it started with sort of advanced machinery for the time, and over time evolved to really a large focus on the consumable side, mostly abrasives and tooling solutions. Again, primarily focused on metal and the welding industry.
Awesome. Okay, and then Max, tell us a little bit about Push Corp for those who don't know yet.
Absolutely. So Push Corp incorporated in 1993. So we are a world leader in material removal equipment. We focus on material removal all the time. So grinding, sanding, buffing, deburring, drilling. So really been trying to coin the subtractive manufacturing term, right? So and we make force compliance devices, servo spindles, buffing, floor standing buffing equipment, belt sanders, and things, everything just for automation.
So we hear that you guys have some news. There is a particular reason that both of you are at this desk together. There's been an acquisition. Why the two companies? Tell us about that.
Well, I think from Walter's perspective, we've always been focused on how can we help our customers work better, how can we help them get more productive, and Walter's core customer has always been that sort of SME metal fab job shop, and like just about every other company out there, regardless of industry, there's a workforce challenge, that a lot of people are facing, and one of the obvious potential solutions is automating certain operations or looking at robotics to support, the resources you have in house and that you want to keep in house. We embarked on a project at Walter a couple of years ago, really looking at our core customer base and visiting them, spending time with them, watching them work, and speaking with them to understand what are the biggest challenges you're facing today, and then what do you think those challenges are going to evolve into, in the next 5-10 years. And across the board, it was unanimous. One of the avenues that, our customers feel they have to evaluate, but are scared to do so, is robotics to help support their operations. And so it became an area for us to start obviously looking at with intent and seeing where there's, partners we can work with, be it from a partnership perspective, from, joining forces perspective. And we started working with Push Corp more and more on, projects that had a lot of really good benefits for the end, the end user, where those cells were deployed. And the relationship kind of fostered from there.
Max, is there anything you would add to that from your perspective on the Push Corp side?
Ryan did a great job of framing it. But from our side, it is a super symbiotic relationship for us, right? So on the Walter side, they are a technology and product company, right? And a lot of pride in there, and Push Corp's a lot of the same way. We're cut from the same cloth. So Push Corp prides themselves in being super agile and quick to market, right? Customer needs a certain something, and we're happy to work with them to produce that. And in these exchanges with Walter, where we've worked on same projects together, they approach business the same exact way as us. So it's just been great.
So you've come together, and Ryan, you were talking about this. A lot of this was based on the needs of the market, what you were hearing from your customers. So I'd love to hear from both of you. Ryan, we'll start with you, and then Max will go to you. Where are the biggest opportunities for automated material removal in the industry right now?
Well, no, I can't, propose to speak with the same amount of experience that Max has, obviously, but we all hear the same 3 Ds, right? Dirty, dull, dangerous jobs. And when you get into the jobs that a lot of our core customer base was doing, grinding metal, cutting metal, throwing sparks, creating dust, obviously it fits that bill pretty well. And we've seen obviously an explosion of robotic welding and automated welding over the last 10, 15 years, but that was not so visible, at least not within our customer base, for those jobs which are a little less exciting maybe than welding even is. So that for us became something to look at and say, this is where our products are used. At the end, let's say, of a human holding an angle grinder. But there's, more and more challenges finding people to hold an angle grinder and go to work for 8 hours a day doing physically demanding work. Some of it can be heavy duty, some of it can be a lot more light duty. Maybe it's light sanding, light deburring. But there was an obvious opportunity for not just supplementing human resources, but also helping our customers be able to hit those output targets where, yes, you have people who can do it, but maybe they're only running one shift with the people that they have, and now they want to be able to supplement that production. So it's not, what we notice is it's not so much I don't have people to do the jobs that, we've sold and then to complete these projects. It's that we're growing, our industry is doing well, but we can't add the human resources to be able to meet that output, so how can we supplement them otherwise? And, obviously, we look at it from the, consumable touches part. In a manual application, there's an angle grinder. When we look robotically, well, there's push corp equipment. And so that for us was kind of the overarching trend is not just we can't find people, but how can we find alternative resources to help us deliver on the projects that are in our order book.
Absolutely. Max, what would you add to that? Also just in terms of like changing demographics of the workforce.
Yeah, I think when you look at things like what just happened in California where fast food's $20 an hour, right, to go work in fast food, it's like, are you going to go grind parts in a hot foundry, or are you going to go to work in fast food for $20 an hour? I think the choice there for most people is pretty obvious. And so I think one of the biggest challenges that we see is that a huge part of the market that's available today and the people that need the most help are the small to medium-sized manufacturers, right? When you start getting down into lower tiers or even like private enterprise, but it's a 20 to 30 person company. It's not a huge corporation, publicly traded, right? And those people are having a hard time because these plants might be in locations where they're not casting, they don't have huge urban population to pull in from, right? Plus, with the aging of the boomers and, these different demographics kind of working the way they're going, there's been a huge push in North America. You got to go to college, So a lot of these trade people, a lot of trade schools have gone out. So I think with all those things kind of coming down, it's ripe right now, right, for automation in industry. And I think the biggest challenge with a lot of things is when you look at the integrator base and the robot manufacturing base, robotic companies are now starting to pay attention and build robot material removal specific tools within their robot libraries like they have for welding, right? So these things within the last 5-6 years have really started to take off, and you start to see these in different platforms. So I think a lot of that stuff is going to help not only push it forward, but also bring more people to the industry that weren't there before.
Well, let's talk about some of the other trends we're seeing, because you were just talking about trends that are impacting the manufacturing workforce and really the macro workforce in general. You started getting into some of the technology there. Max, we'll start with you. What are some trends you're seeing out there beyond the ones we just talked about? And then Ryan, we'll have you follow up on that.
Yeah, so I think a big one that folks are looking at now is the low to no programming type thing. So your scan and plan technologies. As this sensor data is coming out, you've got so many colleges and universities focusing on writing APIs and different things for cell phones, right, that are driving that whole vision recognition genre forward, right? So a lot of that technology is going to work its way into automation and robotics. You've got a lot of companies focusing on these 3D type sensors, right, where a while back they were super expensive, but now you're getting to a point where they're much more affordable and starting to find their way into industry. Simpler to deploy, you got APIs, so different things from that general aspect. I think you're seeing a lot of improvements coming. But then also just the number of people that are coming, even out of the high school level, in robotics through programs like FIRST and VEX Robotics and different things. You've got a lot of people coming out into the industry knowing robots, where 15, 20 years ago that was way more niche, right, than it is now in the mainstream.
That's so cool.
And I think maybe to add to that, obviously I think we, Max and I obviously agree that the AI-driven sort of scan and plan and almost autonomous material removal solutions are kind of like the golden goose, right? It's like the silver bullet that everybody's hoping for. And I think we see a lot of really promising technologies moving that way, but also the I guess the promise or the pitch of ease of use of cobots and cobots-like solutions is another thing that's bringing more and more people towards robotic solutions and seeing how those might be able to fit into material removal. There's some applications in material removal, more so the light-duty work, because generally you still have a spinning abrasive, you still have sparks flying, so you really want to be careful about what's collaborative as an application versus not. But some of the light-duty applications, stuff where it's maybe a human introducing a part by hand, could fairly easily be replicated by cobots. So there's a pretty, I think, big appetite for finding those low-hanging fruit and simple applications where a cobot might be a viable solution, almost as a teaser, or something I can wet my feet with in robotics, and then look at how can I extrapolate that throughout my facility, maybe to the more heavy-duty applications as well. So that's another one. I think it's just becoming more attainable.
Yeah, I love it.
Is there anything we're talking about kind of why technology is kind of driving this. Is there anything on the abrasive side that's a trend that you're seeing motivate some of this right now too?
Yeah, maybe I'll jump on that first. But so what it's funny, from Walter's perspective, our goal has always been to bring the best quality abrasive products, the best quality tooling products, truly, really trying to bring the best quality consumables, hard stop. And it's easy to show that from a robotic testing perspective or controlled tests, but when you start deploying these more expensive solutions in shop environments that can have a lot of variability from one shop to the next, it's not so easy to show that value when there's a human factor that's always different from place to place. But when you're doing so robotically, as we're learning and as Max knows very well, you really can optimize and fully use the performance of that abrasive across its entire life, which is something that, generally speaking, a human won't do. Won't take it from literally 100% to 0%, but you can do that robotically, and you can do so with consistency. So one of the big things we're seeing is the adoption of more and more robotic material removal really fits well with premium abrasives and high quality consumables, because it allows you to have the best performing cell and the best cycle times and the best duty cycle for everything involved in that cell.
Unless you want to add something to that, Max, can you tell us a little bit about what you have here actually at Automate? You guys have a great booth, a lot of different robots and technologies in there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're unveiling our new small compliance device for the small robot market. So the AFD62, we're doing a live grinding demo in our booth. And we also have a hands-on demo that people can actually come and touch and feel and see just really how our technology works and how it can better help you be successful in your automation journey.
It's not rocket science.
No, or rocket surgery, but we're getting there.
I guess I've got one maybe fun question to wrap things up on, because when I think of dull, dirty, dangerous jobs, grinding, material removal feels like it's at the top of the list, right? Like, welding, there's some attraction there, right? It's cool, I'm making something. Yeah. Grinding, you're just removing material. It's literally a dirty job. So my question is then, of all the things that we could have automated before, what's coming to fruition now? Let's give the 101 answer. Why is this all coming to fruition now to eliminate one of the jobs that ultimately, I think of Eric Nieva as a +1 robotics. Yeah. He started his career 30 plus years ago grinding, and it's like, man, I feel like we would have done something about that before then. What's your take?
I think a lot of the technology, while PushCorp's been in business 30 years, I think we were just way ahead of our time.
Yeah.
And the rest of the industry is now catching up. And I think the biggest thing that's happened is that robotic welding has really matured to the point where there isn't a lot left to do. Mm-hmm. And now it's our turn. But also, I think that as you look at the demographics, and it doesn't matter where you go in the world, I think you're going to have a hard time find somebody graduating high school and saying, Mom, Dad, I want to go grind parts in a foundry, or I want to go sand doors in a factory, or, I just want to live in dust and dirt, right? Like, I think no matter where you go in the world, that's probably true.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we're excited for you guys, again, to be here, and we're excited for you guys to be working together now. Again, Ryan and Max, thank you so much for joining us here on Automate Live today. Make sure to go and check out their booth here on the Automate show floor, and stay tuned because we have more interviews coming up next here on Automate Live.
has had a huge impact on the automation industry, and I benefited through my company, General Motors, who used that information, that association, to further develop and advance robotics technology. A3 brought together all of the different supplier companies which could deliver the technology. The human capital of people that knew how they operated and could work with them, and it had a big positive impact on the success of General Motors, and clearly it had a big positive impact on many other companies and the industry as a whole.
All right, welcome back everyone. We are here at Automate Live, and I have a very special guest today. My name is Jake Hall, the Manufacturing Millennial, and we are being introduced to the keynote speaker of this morning, Del Costi, the president of Siemens Digital Industries for Americas. Del, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic.
Awesome. You know, you are a lifelonger at Siemens, 23 years at the same company. went to college in Michigan State University.
Thank you for the
Got to be
clarification.
specific.
Yep.
Have a culture of in Detroit. You know, you shared some amazing takeaways from the keynote this morning that I want to dive into, but I can see how your passion matches your job and how those two collide. So Siemens is doing a lot of things in the industry right now.
Correct.
They're all over the place. I don't think a lot of times people realize how big Siemens is as a company.
Even people in Siemens.
Yeah, even people in Siemens and all the different industries that you guys touch. But when we look at how the industry is changing, we know it's changing because there's 40,000 people here at Automate this week that are learning about new technologies and new trends. So the first question for you is, I want to talk about how Siemens is addressing change. And when we look at all the processes that have existed in manufacturing for years, technology, I would say, is the biggest disruptor of those trends and those practices. So how is Siemens going about making sure that we're leveraging the potential of the technology that exists?
That's a great question. So I really enjoyed the time today, by the way.
Yeah.
I love leaning into the topic because it's kind of in my blood. I grew up with it, right? We've had innovation every year of every decade.
Yeah.
It's just different now. And so it's the rate that the innovation can take root. But what I talked about today is it's imperative that one of our mantras is technology with a purpose.
Yes.
And so we can leverage through our partner ecosystem the best technology in the world. We develop some pretty amazing technology, but it needs to be put in the context of consumption. Mm-hmm. You know, if you look at companies now, it's all about the idea of adoption. We can't discount that because adoption simply means that we frame technology in a way that it's going to benefit a process.
Yeah.
And it was designed in a way that the people that need to consume the technology are actually consuming it.
Yes.
That's the definition of adoption, right? So if we're doing that properly, that means the value is being delivered. And we've got a mechanism to iterate on. Mm-hmm. And so to me, it's never about the tech. And the tech's so important, but what is more important is the progression that a company can make. And I say this every chance I get. Transformation is big. Mm-hmm. And there's multiple ways to look at it. We got to question ourselves, are we happy with incremental gain?
Yeah. Because
if we want to look for transformational gain, we always have to keep an eye on the end-to-end. What is the real art of the possible? Mm-hmm. And to me, success is a combination of both.
For sure. And when I look at transformation, I mean, that's kind of the story of Siemens over the last decade. I remember during your keynote, you talked about Siemens, and then you had another graph of all the Siemens acquisitions, going into the digital world. And so when you look at manufacturing is changing so rapidly, and I think Siemens' strategy was, in order for you guys to change at the pace that the industry needs to change, you went through and you guys really strategized on creating and partnering with great companies out there to bring on board. So when we look at bringing new technology on board to manufacturers, especially in brownfield facilities, how are we ensuring that the production isn't lost, the culture isn't lost? All the different types of older facilities that have running operations, when we're implementing new technology, what are the best practices to make sure that that by leveraging digital transformation isn't becoming a hindrance to existing processes at facilities?
Yeah, and I think you noticed at the end of the keynote, I played a video of the industrial metaverse, and I could have picked a facility that was a customer. I didn't. I picked one of our facilities because Siemens isn't only a student and a provider of this technology, they're a consumer of the technology. Mm-hmm. And the video that I played was an actual brownfield facility of Siemens.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to note, Jake, most companies aren't starting at zero and have to figure out how to get to 60 miles per hour. Mm-hmm. Most companies have a digital footprint today.
Yeah.
So one, it's an understanding of the maturity of the processes that exist, and then looking for those opportunities to say, we've mapped out the maturity, here's some areas that are great starting points. More importantly, here's our, I describe them because of lean manufacturing days in my 20s, but here are some bottlenecks that you have in terms of technology adoption, and if we implement technology in this spot, here's the benefit it's going to have. Now, once we do that, we can look right and look left. And we talk about digital thread, and digital thread is based on that customer process, which is agnostic to brownfield or greenfield. It's just a solid process. Companies always go through process mapping to determine how they can get more efficient. Now you do that with a data construct and a system construct, and you say, here are the gaps in my performance. This is a great place to shore up. When we get into that type of iterative discussion with our customers, it becomes obvious where to focus. And so we pick those areas, and I gave an example today.
With Borg Warner, right?
Yeah, that was tied to sustainability, and what an exciting project. And now Borg has orchestrated it where it's a collection of companies, because they're not going to rip and replace everything that they have. We need to work together to give Borg Warner the outcome that they deserve. Which is having very real-time access to what they're doing from energy consumption, carbon footprint, so that the commitments that they made can be delivered against. It's awesome.
And the one thing, so at a previous life, Borg Warner was a customer of mine, and I walk into a Michigan facility, and it's completely different than a facility down in South Carolina. I mean, they're one of the 25th, one of the top 25 largest, automotive manufacturers that are out there, and it's so hard to create consistency and a plan across an enterprise that has, dozens, if not hundreds of facilities. So when we look at the strategy on how Siemens is creating a roadmap for a lot of these companies, I think there's a lot of different topics that come into play. And you mentioned briefly on it earlier on sustainability. And I think sustainability is one thing that's it's pushed heavily across the world. And I think America is really, in a lot of cases, in a lot of companies, really stepping up to bat when it comes to not only environmental sustainability, but sustainability within culture of the company, sustainability within the manufacturing processes. Can you talk more about what Siemens' vision is when it comes to transforming those manufacturing companies forward?
Gladly, but before I do that, I want to allude to something you talked about. You talked about going and seeing plants and different processes everywhere. But when we think about this idea of digital thread, we talk about a model-based enterprise. So I design a product and I represent that product. Then I design a process digitally before I actually make any or release any hard tooling or do anything at a plant. And then I extend that and I figure out how to move that model through. And now I know what I need to build and how I'm going to build it. I know what supply chain impact I'm going to have, and now I can plan all that out and I can execute against it. But the fact is, there is capability that's technology driven, and that's why I love, and that's why I show the series of acquisitions, because it's important. One of the elements in there is this idea of an enterprise bill of process, so that I can have my foundational definition of how I'm going to build a product, and its core, so wherever I build it, but there may be some differences. If I'm going to build it in country A versus country B, country A may have more automation, country B may have less. There may be some nuances, but I can manage that all centrally so I understand what that core definition is. Think of the power of that of building off digital thread. Now, if I transition that to sustainability, catching up on sustainability is not easy. If I start with sustainability on mind in a program, and we talk about, and there's studies out there that show 80% of my sustainability footprint is done in the concept phase of the product design. The fact that we've got end-to-end digital enterprise capability means we understand what's happening in defining a set of requirements for how I'm going to design and execute and build a product. So we start off with that in mind. We can work on efficiency areas to drive a more sustainable product and process with the correct materials, the correct lightweighting, whatever the concept is going to be of how I need to do that. Then we take that all the way through manufacturing and look at how I can lean up. As technologies continue to advance, like additive, we have capability that we talk about an example, just the end effector on a robot. Some of them can be pretty heavy. But if I start leveraging the technology, I can redesign those things and I can design the optimum model using the software, using generative capability. And by the way, that model can be 50, 60, 70% lighter if I multiply that out and I have that type of weight reduction on an end effector and I multiply that by the number of robots, I can actually downsize the robot.
Yeah.
I don't need the same energy consumption. How many of those opportunities do I have? If I modify design and I look at dunnage, I look at container, I look at the container ecosystem and how that flows. How do I reshare? I mean, there's so many areas we can dive into with a digital footprint that you can't do without it in terms of the time and speed.
I remember watching a video in your partnership that you guys had with NVIDIA when it comes to, you know, the metaverse, right?
Yeah.
That they're pushing
Industrial
out there.
metaverse, yeah.
Industrial metaverse. And they gave examples of if I'm able to simulate this process and run this process, I can make real-time changes that can happen instantly and give way better access to problems that could happen down the road and planning ahead for them. It's really an incredible opportunity
I'm
to see.
so pumped about this. Where I would go with that is, I talked today about this idea of a digital twin.
Yeah.
And I do emphasize between digital twin and digital twins. Our CEO on the software side does as well. I mean, he talks about it all the time. And he's driven an acquisition strategy that allows us to talk about a digital twin singular because we have the multifunction, multi-physics represented in the digital twin.
Yeah.
We have the process definition. We know how the plant's going to operate. So for us, it's a holistic digital twin. The power of that is significant.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the things we're talking about in the industrial metaverse come from that. Now, couple that with the strength that we have in automation, 1 out of 3 PLCs is Siemens, right?
Yeah.
So we have a large global footprint.
Absolutely.
If you think of what some would call that the brains of the shop floor, right? If you think of harmonizing these things, and now you couple it with the edge,
Yeah.
and I've got this high fidelity digital twin, I've got this full physics-based industrial metaverse, I could see simultaneously what's happening on the floor, and then is it live or is it Memorex? I can stop,
Yep.
I can rewind, I can see what was a contributing factor to some failure mode or point, I could fast forward and I could predict if I have potential supply chain disruptions, what and why. And so I think it's super powerful capability that will be at the users and companies' fingertips.
Yeah. So one final question, we talk about capability that's going to be happening in the future. AI.
Yeah.
AI is a term that has become trending across every topic in our daily lives. AI is going to change the way we work. AI is going to change the way we live.
I saw Terminator.
Yeah. What's Siemens' strategy when it comes to leveraging AI to make people's lives easier and make the technology that we use easier?
Yeah, we talk about technology with a purpose, and I showed an example today with the Siemens Industrial Copilot, which is a great partnership with Microsoft, and the power of that I think excited a lot of people in the crowd. So for those that didn't see it, played an AI that shows how I can interact with programming a machine.
Yeah.
And this is the Siemens Industrial Copilot for engineering. So I can do this remote from the plant, but I can interact, and I can really drive the development of new code, and it's completely interactive with generative AI.
Yeah.
And so, super powerful example. I can do it on the operation floor as well. And then we embed ML AI with our partnership with AWS in our low code platform. Again, leveraging the power of it in everything I do. So huge potential in what's going to continue to grow there.
Awesome. Well, Del, I really appreciate your time. Del Costi, President of Siemens Digital Industries for Americas. How do we learn more about what Siemens is doing?
Oh, hit the Siemens website. We got a ton of people. And if you're here at Automate, I got a very eager staff ready to talk all this tech and go through our digital thread mapping with you.
Absolutely. Awesome. Del, thank you so much for your time. Of course, if you want to learn more about what Siemens is doing, check them out online. Check them out at all the events they're at across the world, and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks.
has had a huge impact on the automation industry, and I benefited through my company, General Motors, who used that information and that association to further develop and advance robotics technology. A3 brought together all of the different supplier companies which could deliver the technology. The human capital, the people that knew how they operated and could work with them, and it had a big positive impact on the success of General Motors, and clearly it had a big positive impact on many other companies and the industry as a whole. had a huge impact on the automation industry, and I benefited through my company, General Motors, who used that information and that association to further develop and advance robotics technology. A3 brought together all of the different supplier companies which could deliver the technology. The human capital, the people that knew how they operated and could work with them, and it had a big positive impact on the success of General Motors, and clearly it had a big positive impact on many other companies and the industry as a whole. has had a huge impact on the automation industry, and I benefited through my company, General Motors, who used that information and that association to further develop and advance robotics technology. A3 brought together all of the different supplier companies which could deliver the technology. The human capital, the people that knew how they operated and could work with them, and it had a big positive impact on the success of General Motors, and clearly it had a big positive impact on many other companies and the industry as a whole. has had a huge impact on the automation industry, and I benefited through my company, General Motors, who used that information and that association to further develop and advance robotics technology. A3 brought together all of the different supplier companies which could deliver the technology. The human capital, the people that knew how they operated and could work with them, and it had a big positive impact on the success of General Motors, and clearly it had a big positive impact on many other companies and the industry as a whole. A3 has had a huge impact on the automation industry, and I benefited through my company, General Motors, who used that information and that association to further develop and advance robotics technology. A3 brought together all of the different supplier companies which could deliver the technology. The human capital, the people that knew how they operated and could work with them, and it had a big positive impact on the success of General Motors, and clearly it had a big positive impact on many other companies and the industry as a whole.
Hello everyone, I'm Jim Beretta from Customer Attraction Industrial Marketing. We're here at Automate 2024, and I'm here with a couple of my friends from ARS Automation. Chris, introduce yourself.
Hey, yes, Chris Round with ARS Automation.
And Andrea Mazzini, ARS Automation. I'm General Manager of the company.
So, Andrea, how is the show going?
Show going very well, right? So we see a lot of interest for our flexible fitting technologies, so very well.
And how did you get into this industry?
Yeah, so personally, I got into the industry, this industry 10 years ago, and I saw a lot of changes in the fitting requests from our customers. So before it was more lower mix, higher volume. Now we see a growing interest for higher mix and lower volumes. That's why we introduced our flexible in the market to give a response to this market need.
So tell us a little bit about what a flexible is. What are the technologies in it?
So flexible itself, it's a feature. So flexible main task is to get parts separated and singulated for a vision system to detect them, locate them, and send the part coordinates to the robot for the following picking task. The big deal about flexible fitting is that it's very easy to be reconfigured, and it's a very modular technology that can really be applied across industries for many, many different applications, starting from the assembly to the packaging, from kitting to quality check. So it's very versatile technology.
Chris, can you tell us a little bit about what you're actually showing in your booth here at Automate?
Yeah, so Jim, we're having all of our different bowl sizes. We did leave one bowl size back, but we only had so much room. The bowls tend to take a little bit of space, but we have all the way down to our 200 up to an 800 millimeter size bowl. and with different types of related parts and pieces and things that we offer, different type of disc sizes or disc types. And so, you're going to get a chance to see a lot of the different technology that we have when you come over.
You've got a bunch of robots in your booth too, Andrea. Which robots are you showing?
So we are showing a nice application with multiple parts fed at the same time with a universal robot product. And then there is we are partnering up with one of our Italian customer, the company Cipla Automation, that is showing a very flexible and modular assembly machine with Stobli robots.
And Chris, you're having a lot of conversations with clients who have feeding challenges or feeding issues. What are some of those conversations sound like?
Yeah, here at the show, it's a bit of mix, right? We've had anywhere from a lot of consumer products. Had a nice conversation today at lunch about some packaging challenges. But we're getting into a lot of automotive parts, small parts that tend to get tangled. We're really good at that. Just really small parts is really where we fit. But our product sizes range from where we do really well is anywhere from really, really small, and I'm talking down to the millimeter, up to about 300 millimeters. So if you can think about the kitting, consumer products, machine tending like parts, but you're getting into automotive. We're getting into medical, pharma, different types of applications like that. So we're seeing all that at the show this week for sure.
And so, and thank you for that, Chris.
Yeah.
With these conversations, I wanted to ask you. Actually, I want to ask Andrea. Your bowls are made in Italy. Is that correct?
That's correct. Arezzo, Tuscany. Yep.
But you're exporting all over the world.
Yeah, we are exporting all over the world. Let's say we are dealing with distributors. We have more than 25 distributors in the States, so they help us, covering different territories. And we have just recently opened our U.S. branch, so 2 months ago, and we hired Chris for that.
And that's exciting. And Chris, you've just made a switch to join ARS. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's right. It's been a very natural transition for me. Coming from the robotics side, well, originally coming from conveyors, then to the robotics side, and now to the feeding side, it's been very natural. So it's been a very welcoming, and many of the same distributors, which has been nice as well, and honestly, many of the same customers. So they're seeing a face that they're familiar with as our company transitions into the States. We're opening up in Charlotte, which is where our facility is going to be. And we have a staff there, and we are going to continue to populate the staff. We have some individuals training in Italy now, and they're going to be coming over shortly. So it's been everything has been moving as planned, and things are going very well.
So, Chris, if I'm a potential customer, I've got a feeding problem, or maybe my regular bowl feeder isn't working very well. How do I get engaged? Like, how do I find out more if my part is right for FlexiBowl?
Yeah, so we have a couple websites. We have the ARS Automation website as well as the FlexiBowl website. And then on those sites, we obviously there's a tremendous amount of information on those sites, but we also have something that I really like. It's one of my favorite things. It's an application form where it's a free test. So you click on the free test, you fill out the information, and most of the time we can get by with only having to see a part, see a drawing. We can actually print parts back at our facility. But many times parts might tangle or parts might be special parts that we haven't really seen before. Most of the parts that we're seeing, we have seen before. We have thousands of videos that customers, that what we've done for customers over the years. So parts that are being, let's just say, something that, like a bolt or a fastener or some type of clip, we have videos that have probably done that project already or one very close to it. So we'll send those videos right away so they can see. But if it's something a little bit more special, something that is maybe tangling, for example, that I used a second ago, that's something we're going to want to see. So we'll send that part over, we'll do the testing, and in just a few days we'll send back those results and with a video.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen, Andrea, some of the bowls at FlexiBowl that have kind of sections, like a pie.
Yep.
So what? Can you explain what the reason for that is?
Yep. you're probably referring to the multiple parts fitting operating mode. So whenever dealing with project where the space is limited and the customer need to infeed more than one part into the process, then multiple parts fitting operating mode might be a solution for that. So basically a flexible disk is split into different sections. Each of them is filled with a single parts coming from a bulk feeder, and it helps a lot of reducing, the footprint of the fitting side and the price as well.
Can you tell also for the audience listening a little bit about the Vision application, because it's your Vision application that they're using, correct?
That's correct. That's FlexiVision. That is Cognex backed. We're using the Vision Pro by Cognex. And it's a very powerful tool because it's very well integrated in our flexible solution, our flexible platform. Can easily communicate with any major robot brands. And so it's a very useful and ready to go vision tool for our flexible applications.
Chris, we kind of talked before we came on about some of the trends in manufacturing that you're seeing, especially with high mix and medium to low volumes. What else are you seeing out there?
I think the technology is really taking, this, what we do is almost necessary. We're coming from the bull feeder world because we have a circular product. And now they're seeing the technology come and having a feeding technology that we offer, where now we're bringing in robotics, we're bringing in vision. And that solution right there is something that there's customers here that have never seen that before, and prospects is for us. So that technology alone has been great. I've been kind of referring to it as a vacuum. It just sounds like it's just coming towards everyone. It's inevitable. It's happening. And it's really enjoyable to be a part of this, and so we're very excited for that. So,
how long does it take to get a bowl? So if I come to go to the website,
yeah.
I fill out the form, go to a distributor, and talk to the distributor, and it looks like it's going to work. How long does it take to make one? Or is that a better question for Andrea?
No, I can answer that, no problem. Yeah. So once we receive obviously the purchase order, then the process is it usually takes us about 4 weeks, and we can deliver. You're looking about a few days ship time, but about 4 weeks is what we say, 4 to 5.
And are you shipping out of Charlotte?
We're shipping out of Italy right now.
Yes.
And the plans are to then ultimately ship out of Charlotte for sure.
That's great.
I'm just not sure when that's going to happen, but hopefully within the next year or so.
And you're kind of robot agnostic, right? Are you Mechademic or Fanuc or
Does
ABB?
not matter.
You don't care.
Same with Vision. We do have some favorites, and I say that kind of jokingly, but we've had to come a long way with some companies that we do really well with, but absolutely agnostic. It does not matter. It's really customer centric, customer driven for sure.
Andrea, what's inside the bowl? Or what's under the bowl, I should say.
Yeah,
right.
That's a good question. There is a motor that controls the rotary disc movement, so you can adjust speed, acceleration, deceleration, the angle of the movement, and then there is an impulse generation, so it helps get the parts singulated and well spread over the disc, and eventually turned over. So whenever there is a side A and side B parts need to be picked on only one of them. So you need to get the wrongly oriented parts into the good oriented part.
And so now you've been at this for quite a while. Are you seeing some, say, trends in markets? So just wondering a little bit about electronics versus med device, and where are you seeing growth?
Probably our most important market is the medical devices. So because of size, product variability, the process of medical devices product being approved from small production to scale up. So there are some parameters that makes the medical devices industry a very favorable one for us.
And Chris, who do you really deal with, or maybe who are your distributors dealing with? Are they applications engineers? Are they plant managers? Like, who's your sweet spot of clients?
Yeah, I mean, it's really the application team. It depends on the customer size too, but for us, as we work with primarily the integrators, and so the application teams there, depending on the size, you might have some presidents, you might have some of those that are wearing multiple hats, but application team all the way through, like who we're seeing here today in the last couple of days, is definitely the customers. And so the customers will be driving this. The application teams from the integrators are the ones that really have to do the work with us together, but that's who we're talking to for sure.
One of the questions I did want to ask you, Andrea, is if I have a fast application, what is kind of the optimal pick speed, and do I need 2 bowls if I'm going to do something like that? Like, how do you handle that?
Yeah, so feed rates depends a lot on the product, of course. Of course, with the flexible come different operating mode. For example, we have the tracking that is very the fastest operating mode. So, and it helps a lot because it gives a continuous flow of parts using the vision system combined with an encoder mounted on the motor, and it helps a lot in speeding up the feeding process. So it can get up to 80, 90 parts per minute taking advantage of that operating mode.
And what about warranty, Chris?
I think actually, Andrea, why don't you answer that one for us in terms of the warranty? Because I'm not actually sure.
Oh, 1 year.
Yeah, the warranty.
So it's 1 year warranty.
It's 1 year
I wasn't
warranty.
service out of Charlotte, right?
We do. Well, we do, and we will be. That's in progress. I thought it was 1 year, but I wanted to make sure.
So I just want to thank you both for coming on Automate Live today, and wish you much more success in the show. We're only at day 2, so we got a couple more days in the hopper, pun intended. And Chris, how can people get a hold of you at ARS?
Yeah, sure. So ARS Automation, just come to the website. You can get us there as well. And either site, right? Flexibowl.com or arsautomation.com, either one.
And Chris Round, you're on LinkedIn?
I'm on LinkedIn. Andrea's on LinkedIn. And yeah, absolutely.
Well, great. Thanks for coming on.
All right.
Good to see you, man.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you so much, as always.
Thank you.
All right.